Hi, everybody. This is Aaron Mesh with Willamette Week. It's my pleasure this morning to be joined by Jennifer Nolfi. She's the Executive Director of the Center for Retail Leadership at the Business School for Portland State University. Did I get all that right?
You did. Thank you. I know it's a mouthful.
Great. So we're talking a week before Black Friday. The biggest shopping day of the year, traditionally so named because it's the day that retailers move from being in the red to being in the black on their budget lines because they see so much revenue. And I think there's some question this year about whether or not that's how it's going to work, given a few factors. The obvious one is the pandemic, that a lot of people are concerned about whether or not they should go shopping on Black Friday. What are you seeing trend-wise around that?
I think people are, for one thing, online is more convenient. It's safer for sure. But I think in terms of trends, I think people will continue to shop online. I don't think brick and mortar is going away. Even as we come out of COVID, people enjoy that online experience. But what they're going to look for now and in the future is that seamless, customized experience across the different channels. So in store and online. And I think based on the National Retail Federation, they're saying about 60% of purchases are going to be made online this year, and that's only up from about 56% last year. But I do think because of the stay home and orders, like we're being forced to do more online. That being said, I still think there's more people that are going to try with our retail stores being open in Oregon still going out to support those local businesses and try and maintain social distancing and being safe, but also supporting local business in this time.
I confess that I'm really surprised by hearing that number, that it's only a 4% percentage point shift.
I am too, and it's National Retail Federation, so it's not my data, but I'm surprised. And I think obviously it depends on who responds to that data. But I do think coming out of COVID, we're going to continue to see more online shopping, and there's a pressure on large and small brands right now to really up their digital platform to allow more online shopping. And because of COVID, it's really forced a lot of retailers and people in the technology industry to push advances that we thought were 5 years out, right? So I do think that it's forced some changes that will be with us long after this, but people will still seek to shop online and in store going forward.
Let's talk about those changes. I mean, the obvious one to me is I do my grocery shopping at Fred Meyer.
Yeah.
And, even a few months ago as the pandemic began, I still put on the mask and went inside Fred Meyer and went up and down the aisles and hoped that nobody was coughing. But in the last, as the things have gotten worse in the fall, I have moved to Fred Meyer's online platform where I type in every grocery I want, and then I go to the parking garage at the stadium Fred Meyer and wait with a basket, and they bring out my groceries, and then I cart them home.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean by the things we thought were 5 years out?
I think it's more on the data analytics, like how people are. Yes, that is definitely a progression towards convenience and meeting customer needs. But I do think a lot of the technology is more around data analytics and how we're getting data from our customers to create a more customized experience. And so while we're seeking that more customized experience online and in store, it also, there's privacy issues that come up with that, because if we know more about you, then we're going to be able to provide you a better customer experience. But then we hear a lot about concerns about privacy. So there's this really interesting balance that we're going to have to deal with. In terms of more advancements, I think, especially for a lot of small businesses, right? They didn't even may not even had a website prior to COVID, but they really had to pivot and create a website to create that online experience to stay in business. And those businesses that have been able to really develop or enhance their online experience are able to be more successful during COVID at this time.
So talk to me about those small businesses. I know of at least two platforms in the Portland area that have been created to help small businesses put their products online. Which one at this point is the leading contender for you?
I try to be Sweden, so I'm not gonna pick favorites by any means. I think there's a variety of options out there. I think Built Oregon has done an amazing job developing this curated, very well-designed marketplace featuring local small businesses. So I think that's a great platform. My People's Market is another, featuring multicultural businesses. We're actually planning to do a virtual pop-up through the center with some of the My People's Markets participants. And then I know the mayor's office just recently launched a new portal to encourage shopping local. So I think there's a variety of platforms out there, and the bottom line is we're all working together to support small businesses during this difficult time. And I was the city small business advocate many years ago, but small businesses are important to me and important to our economy. So it's really exciting to see those efforts and those platforms coming together. The other one, I know, a lot of us, I think, tend to, or maybe more, a lot of us tend to shop or talk about Portland Saturday Market, and they've even shifted to an online platform. So I think there's a lot of different places out there for us to go and support our local small businesses online.
I mean, as somebody with your background, what do you make of how hard it is for a small business to find a space online? It just seems like it's like trying to paddle a canoe upstream and the stream is the Amazon River.
Absolutely. I think you can find the space online, right? You can create a website fairly easily. Well, I probably couldn't. In theory, you could create one fairly easy and create a platform. I think the challenge is the fulfillment piece, right? So a lot of small businesses are having to convert their retail space. They're trying to still have their physical brick and mortar space, but they're also trying to do fulfillment out of that space by, shipping out orders online. So that's a kind of a different business model, if you will, right? So they're having to pivot and do that. I think in addition, it's how do you differentiate yourself in a competitive market? How do you stand out in a crowded online marketplace? And I think, everybody's trying to be creative, and, Black Friday is really about driving people to your website or to your store to make purchases. And I think it's increasingly hard to stand out. And so you need organizations like Built Oregon and My People's Mark kind of creating these coalitions of businesses so that through those larger aggregation of businesses, they have a louder voice and a better opportunity to amplify their message and connect with consumers.
I hadn't thought about the fact that essentially becoming more online means becoming a distribution center as opposed to just a shop.
Absolutely. Like if you're selling, I mean, I order something online, right? Somebody has to get that to us. And so a lot of small businesses, some of them may contract with a third party provider that does warehouse distribution for them. But I think a lot of them, especially right now, as they're trying to pivot, are doing it out of their backs of their stores, right? So that's a whole new set of challenges and opportunities.